Respond to a Jeff here. Just respond to a post I saw this morning on I think it was this morning yesterday. I think it was this morning. Yeah, it was early this morning on the lack of diversity and inclusion um, in the language industry conference kind of arena. And I thought it was a really interesting post. Um, and that's why I'm making a video of it because it's faster for me to say it than to type it. And I can don't have to sit and organize my thoughts and stuff. Just kind of do it right. Um, because again, the LinkedIn you got to get under a certain amount of character limits. This I'm just gonna say it. It's just usually this way. I thought it was really interesting, and my background is I did my master and doctor degrees in Caribbean and African and Caribbean linguistics. So I get a lot of friends from those countries, which tend to be non-white. Let's say it that way. Um, and I did this 30 years ago, and I got an adopted son too from Africa, and I've kind of associated myself with the black community for 30 years. That's been it's been an interesting kind of thing, and having done a lot of Haitian Creole stuff, I've really tried to find successors for me um, in my language technology stuff that are from the Caribbean that are not white. I really try to do this. I've made comments on this in some of my videos on LinkedIn and stuff, and it's kind of been a hard thing to do. Not because I don't want to do it; it's because it's hard to find the right people, and um, and I've always wondered why. You know, and 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 so I think this kind of relates to the question here is, why are all the European Caucasians usually the ones Europe well basically all the people that were in the United States and Canada that are of Caucasian kind of background are from Europe. So I would say Europeans, right? Um, because they're not native Indians, right? Um, but the I mean, you'll find Asian folks come to the conferences, um, probably because they got money, right? And and you find a lot of Caucasians coming from Europe and Americas because they got money. And and one of the main things that issues in Africa and the Caribbean and some other in other countries too, always have the funding. That's a reality. It's a sad reality. Now, why aren't no? Maybe I'll be kind of I'll say blunt. Black people, because my son's black. I say it's black. I'm not going to go and beat around the bush and call him. I'm not calling him Afro American because he's not American, okay? And the French people don't get into this thing of having to call people Afro stuff. They just call them black. That's what they say. So I'm not going to get into the kind of this political correctness stuff trying to deal with because just skin color, okay? It's just pigment. There's no big deal about it. Um, but why? Yeah, I've really thought about why don't we have more people of dark complexion, from African descent in the language kind of industry. There might be some historical reasons for that, because their languages are not they're not highly valued, and they're trying to get away from it. They're trying to get out of that and try to speak the European languages, right? American English is a European language. That's what it comes down to. Um, I've made a number of videos about this topic too, about people from Caribbean countries and from African countries trying to abandon their languages and abandon their cultures to integrate into the European and American, North American cultures that will make them socially more viable or more, higher status. I mean, this is a reality, a very sad one again. So this may account for some of these reasons, and something to think about. I mean, it's something to think about. Again, I'm just kind of brainstorming. I'm not kind of making, statements. I'm just kind of brainstorming about it, thinking about it over there. And I made a number of videos in my YouTube channel about Africans, working with Africans, with Caribbeans. I've done this. So they're all up there. This might provide some more thought about this. Um, I think that your question is a very good one, and something that we should, the whole diversity and inclusion topic. One of the, I made another one thing. I made a couple of videos, but the video I made of diversity and inclusion, I got to redo because it had some problems in the voice and the microphone with it. So I've got to quickly say it here. There's too much focus on the men-women job parity thing and the diversity and inclusion. Just way too much focus on that because it's the only thing you can measure. It's the only thing that you can measure in data, HR data, human resource data, is whether a person has Mr. or Ms. or Mrs. in the data. So it's the only thing you can measure about. Sorry, how many people have changed jobs? It's the only thing you can measure. You can't measure anything else because you're not allowed to for equal opportunity and all those kind of things, right? So these are not measurable things because you can't use those information to be able to do filtering and stuff on data because you're not allowed to know if a person, their religion or their skin color or whatever. But you can know if they're male or female. That you can know. And so you can measure that because we have statistics on this. So that's why there's so much focus on job parity, men and women, job, hiring and skills and job transfer, all that. Because you can measure that. You can actually measure that. It's the only thing we can measure. All the rest of you can't measure it. So this is why to not focus on it. Can't know if people are deaf. Can't know if they're hard of hearing impaired. Visually impaired, autistic if they kind of belong to a program about it, right? But a lot of the stuff can't know about it, not allowed to, so you can't measure it. That's why it's not talked about. And it's when people like myself, and I do a lot of diversity inclusion stuff inside of my company, right? I'm pretty proactive about it. To a certain extent, because I do a lot of apps and stuff or things that kind of support those that are that have things that we all belong to some kind of diversity inclusion group, right? All of us do. I mean, I probably belong to the big nose people's group, right? So, but or the gray hair folks, right? I mean, everyone belongs to some kind of group that can be discriminated against for some reason. So, I mean, so all of us belong to something that we have to have some diversity and inclusion because we're all just different people from all different backgrounds. And what we have to do is just figure out how to make things, how can we, tolerate each other and work with each other's differences and to make it all go towards the same direction. That's the big challenge. And just there are some cultures that have more. You got to watch my video books up on YouTube about working with Americans and working with the Germans and working with the French, where I talk about some things where discrimination happens because of certain national things, national traits and things that will force people to integrate into their cultures and will result in discrimination. So I talk about this stuff. But this might be just kind of the beginning of a discussion, debate, what do you want to call it, dialogue. But sorry, it's binging here. Got my LinkedIn stuff. I didn't turn those notifications off. But see my YouTube channel. There's more up there too, where I do talk about some of these things. I think I have actually a diversity and inclusion playlist, so this will go into that if I got that playlist. But there are lots of more up there too. But these might be some reasons. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. And tomorrow it might evolve more in a different way. Thanks so much. Jeff out.